Hello everyone, it is me, it is I. My name is Wendy Ivy Martinez, also known as the Geek Goddess here on YouTube. And today we are going to be building my TBR based off of these choice awards. And then we're going to be doing a whole reading vlog for it. Mind you, by the time that the reading vlog comes out, it's probably going to be into the final round. Hopefully all of the books that I pick are in the final round, but if they are not, I'm sorry. I'm sorry ahead of time. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be reacting to these Goodreads Choice Awards, and the way that we're going to be building our TBR is going to be made up of a few things. One is it has to be on my physical TBR because I really want to get rid of the books that I have on my physical TBR because I actually have over like 200 books on my physical TBR shelves. And I need to start dwindling that down. Two, I have the chance to veto. So let's say there is a category, for example, right? And there is a book there that I have on my physical TBR, but I don't want to read it. We're gonna skip over that. We're gonna just gladly skip over that. So that's the way that that's gonna work. So let's go ahead and get started with the very first category, which is fiction. The first section is fiction. So opening round nominees are Dolly Parton's Good Material. I said Dolly Parton. Dolly Alderton's Good Material. I see a lot of these were actually picks for Book of the Month boxes, for example, or even Aardvark boxes. I know like the Good Material was a Book of the Month pick, Swan Song, Here One Moment, The Wedding People, Blue Sisters, Intermezzo, Margot's Got Money Troubles, Real Americans. All of those were picks on Book of the Month, and I believe that Wandering Stars was on Aardvark. So I do have one book on that, and that is Margot's Money Trouble. I'm gonna grab them, and then at the very end I'll let you know which ones I'm going to pick and which ones I'm gonna veto. So I do have Margot's Money Trouble, so let me write that down that I have to grab that book. Okay, so that's for fiction. Okay, next category, and I believe that's the only one that I own, historical fiction. You guys might know that I'm not a huge fan of historical fiction, so I probably do not own any of these. Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, no, not at all. Okay, moving on to mystery and thriller. I have no reaction to that whatsoever. Okay, mystery and thriller. We have a few here. Okay, I actually shockingly, I have read two of these. I've read The Teacher and Frida McFadden's. Pretend I just never said that. I read The Teacher and Listen for the Lie. Those are the two that I read. However, do I own some of these? I do own Home is Where the Bodies Are. I really like this cover. It gives me like 90s nostalgia, and I bought like the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So that one's probably gonna be my pick for that one, because I don't think I own any of the rest. Yeah, the last one at the wedding, that one I'm not shocked to see. Middle of the Night. I've been hearing so many good things about Middle of the Night. But I don't have that one. The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, I am not shocked that it's there. It actually has such great reviews. 4.05 with over 200,000 ratings, and that was just published. That's insane. That's insane. The Heiress sounds really good by Rachel Hawkins. I don't know what it's about, but I like the cover. Okay, so for the mystery and thriller category, looks like we are adding Home is Where the Bodies Are. Moving on to romance. Oh, okay. Oh! Okay, I own a couple of these. Yeah, I own a couple of these. Okay, I own Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I own The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. I own Bride by Allie Hazelwood. And I own Leather and Lark by Brianne Weaver, but I know that that's a second story to I forgot what the first one was called. Butcher and Blackbird. Great picks. I have a feeling that Abby Jimenez is gonna win. So just for the summer. So that is everything for the romance category. Moving on to the most exciting category, or one of the most exciting categories. I'm also curious to see what category I read from the most. If I read any of these. I've only read 2 of these so far. Okay, so for Romantasy, we have Gold, which is the 5th book in the Plated Prisoner series, I believe. A Touch of Chaos by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the 4th book in the Hades and Persephone series. I'm 2 books in, so I would have to read 1 before I read this one. Blood of Hercules sounds good. What the heck? I haven't heard of that one. I'm actually kind of curious about that one. Okay. Shockingly, I've only read 1. I'm reading The Spell Shop. I read The Games Gods Play. I rated that one a 5-star. Phantasma's on my TBR, so I might just add that. When the Moon Hatched, I own that one. Okay, so from these, I own Apprentice to the Villain. I own Gold. I own When the Moon Hatched. I own Phantasma. I own A Dark and Drowning Tide. That's another one. I read The Games Gods Play. I'm reading The Spell Shop for another reading vlog right now. And I also own A Fate Inked in Blood. So I own a lot of these. But The Blood of Hercules also sounds so good. I don't know why. I have to look at the synopsis. Let's see the synopsis. It cuts it off, but it says, a sarcastically funny dark fantasy romance reimagining of Hercules from Amazon's best-selling author, Jasmine Mass. I'm just a girl, and it turns out I'm Hercules. I'm struggling to survive in a Titan-infested world where Spartans, immortals from 12 royal families who have godlike powers and obscene wealth rule it all. A shy, stammering orphan child with nothing. I keep my head down, cover my scars, and focus on excelling in school. At least I try to. Then it happens. My blood test reveals I'm part powerful elite. I'm one of them, a Spartan. Forced to attend the Spartan War Academy, I undergo the most harrowing test of all time to see if I have what it takes to be an immortal. There are just a few problems. Achilles and Patro are my scary mentors. Charon, the ferryman of death, I've never seen it spelled that way, and Augustus, the son of war, are my terrifying professors. Also, I'm pretty sure either someone's stalking me everywhere I go or my sanity's slipping. I have a bad feeling both are true. I'm surrounded by villains and they're smothering me with their hate, obsession, and dark possessiveness. Too bad for all of them. They have no clue who they're messing with. Very good for her. It sounds a little bit YA, but you guys know, if you guys have been on my channel for a while, you may know that I am a sucker for Greek mythology. So that one has my eye. Okay, so I own a lot of these. All right, moving on to, so a lot of good picks for Romantasy. Like, I want to say Phantasma took the world by storm, but I'd be surprised if Sarah J. Maas didn't win because it's Sarah J. Maas. You know what I mean? So that's it for Romantasy. Let's move on to Fantasy. All right, so the next category that we have is Fantasy. So opening round nominees include The Tainted Cup. That I'm not surprised because I heard about that one so much. It has a 4.3 with over 23,000 reviews. Empire of the Damned, which is Empire of the Vampire 2. I attempted to read Empire of the Vampire. I was so intimidated by its size, I literally put it down. However, I did notice that there was illustrations on it and I thought that was really awesome. But I have not picked it up because I'm so scared of the size. I'm just scared of its size. That's it. That's what she said. Anyways, moving on. Next we have The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. I do own that one. So there's one that I have. The Blackbird Oracle. Haven't heard of that one. The Foxwife. Haven't heard of that one. A Sweet Sting of Salt. That one I have heard of, but I don't own it. Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I literally just read that one, like last week. Last week I just finished that one. Five Broken Blades. I do own. An Academy of Liars. I've been hearing a lot about that one, but I've heard it's not that great. It has like a 3.5, so I don't think that one's gonna win. The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. I think this is like a historical fantasy, and you guys know that historical anything is like not my, unless it's like real historical stuff. I don't know, I'm weird. A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Ling. If I'm saying that wrong, I do apologize. Let's see. The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Djeli Clark. I don't own that one. Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I'm sure that one's good. Don't own it. I do own The Bright Sword. I literally just got it in my Book of the Month box. So there's another one that I own. I do own The Lost Story. I read The Wishing Game by her last year. One of my favorite books of 2023. So that's another contender. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. That one I am very intimidated by because it is a historical fantasy, and I do have previous, like I have read another Leigh Bardugo book that I did not like, Ninth House. Didn't like it. And I think that's it, basically. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay, so science fiction. The Family Experiment. That actually looks so good. 4.11. John Mars. I know John Mars is like known for his stuff. In Ascension. For some reason, I really like that cover. I don't know why. Beautyland also looks. I like this one. So it's about a woman who doesn't feel at home on Earth. Ooh. I'm gonna open that up on another tab. This black box. I'm starting to worry about this Black Box of Doom. Annie Bot. I've been wanting to read that one, but I actually don't own it. I do own The Ministry of Time. I think that's the only one that I own on this, on the sci-fi picks. Which is crazy because when I do actually pick up a sci-fi, I usually like it. Alright, so moving on to horror. This one I'm excited for. I feel like I read a lot of these. Okay, so horror, we have We Used to Live Here. I've been wanting to read that one. Gosh, I've been wanting to read that one. The Book of the Witching. You Like It Darker by Stephen King. This Cursed House. I almost picked that one on Aardvark. I should have just grabbed it. So Thirsty, I own. The Eyes Are the Best Part, I read. So good. Incidents Around the House. Why does it have a 3.69? I love that book. I love that book. Murder Road, I read. Diavola, I read. I Was a Teenage Slasher, I read. Bury Your Gaze. I fucking killed it with horror. Yes. Hell yeah. Okay, the only other one that I own here that I haven't read is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. But I honestly, you guys, low-key, I kind of want to read We Used to Live Here, even though I don't own it. Okay, I'm going to put So Thirsty for the horror. I kind of want to put We Used to Live Here just because I want to read it. Is that cheating? That's probably cheating. Who cares? Okay. Okay, and then next, let's move on to debut novel. Debut novel. The Ministry of Time. That's the only one that I already wrote that down. And We Used to Live Here is on there too. Okay. The Eyes Are the Best Part, I read. So good. And then lastly, I think, right? No, there's other categories. We have audiobook. I actually listened to Listen for the Lie. I'm not going to pick anything. They have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, but that's like audiobook form, so I'm not going to pick anything from there. Young adult fantasy. I have Ruthless Vows, but that means that I would have to read Divine Rivals, and I don't feel like reading 2 books for young adult right now. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be skipping that one. But great picks. Like, I do follow along with other people that read YA, even though I don't. I know Immortal Dark is going back and forth, but that one's gaining popularity very fast. You have the Powerless trilogy. This is book 2, Reckless. Heartless Hunter has been everywhere. I forgot what the first book was, by Isabel Ibanez. That one people have been talking about. And I know the Belladonna series, that's another one that everybody's talking about. So great picks. Great picks. You guys got some great ones to choose from. Young adult fiction. Okay. I do have Heartstopper. Okay, I have Heartstopper. So there's one. Heartstopper Volume 5. I actually I'm on Volume 3. So I'm adding Heartstopper Volume 5 to the list because I actually own 1 through 5 because my daughter reads them too. Okay. One that I was curious about was Dungeons and Drama, just because I am obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons. I'm actually thinking about creating a readathon in 2025. So stay tuned for that because I'm going to be creating a readathon for Dungeons and Dragons. I want my DM to help me come up with an idea because I have concepts. You know what I mean? I have concepts. I do have ideas, but I'm trying to figure out how to progress my D&D story so that you guys can go on an adventure while reading, like a reading adventure while still kind of playing D&D. Does that make sense? I don't know. I have this idea in my head and I did like mind maps, but I'm trying to figure out how to make it even better. So I want to talk to my DM for ideas. He doesn't read, but he does know how to DM. So I'm hoping that he gives me some ideas. I think that's the only one that I have. Yep, that's the only one that I own. Okay, so moving on to nonfiction. Do I own any of these nonfiction reads? I do. Okay, so I actually just bought this book. I'm Sorry for My Loss, An Urgent Examination of the Reproductive Care in America. I actually did just buy that. So I will be adding that to my list. Probably not going to show you guys because that's also going in the unboxing video. Moving on to memoir. Okay, so do I own any of these? I don't. But for some reason, The Manicurist's Daughter really catches my eye. Also, I am ashamed that I don't own RuPaul's memoir. I'm ashamed in myself. I tell you, because when I tell you that 2 years in a row, I was binging all of RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm ashamed in myself. I really am. Okay, so that we don't actually own anything from that. Moving on to history and biography. Do I own any of these? Nope. Nexus sounds good. It has a pigeon on it. A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age to AI. Nice. That one actually sounds pretty interesting. The Bookshop, A History of the American Bookstore. That one's cool. That one's pretty cool. The Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed. Awesome. The History of Horror, From Salem to Stephen King and Beyond. Oh, I'm putting that on my wanna read for sure. And let's see. Challenger, The True Story of Heroism and the Disaster on the Edge of Space. No. Okay, so I don't own any of these. So let me grab all the books that I own and then we're gonna choose together. All right, so here are all the books that I owned, minus the few that I haven't unboxed yet. So the ones that I haven't unboxed yet are Leather and Lark, which is sitting in my Book of the Month box. The Bright Sword, We Used to Live Here, I still have to buy if I do decide to do that one. And then I'm Sorry for My Loss, which is a nonfiction. So to be honest, we have 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks till we get the final results. So I'm gonna see, let me pick. I'm gonna try to pick from each category. So in the fiction category, we have Margot's Got Money Troubles. From historical fiction, we have nothing. So for mystery and thriller, we have Home is Where the Bodies Are. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for romance we have Just for the Summer, The Love of My Afterlife, and we have Bride. For romantasy, we have Apprentice to the Villain, which means that I would have to read Assistant to the Villain beforehand. We have When the Moon Hatched. We have A Fate Inked in Blood, Phantasma, and A Dark and Drowning Tide. Oh, and we have Gold also for Romantasy, which is Plated Prisoner 5. For regular fantasy, we have The Night Ends with Fire, which is a Mulan retelling. We have Five Broken Blades, The Familiar by Leah Bardugo, and then last but certainly not least, we have The Lost Story by Meg Schaffer. For sci-fi, the only one that we have on our list is The Ministry of Time by Kayleen Bradley. For horror, I did read a lot of these actually, but the other one that I have on my shelf is So Thirsty, and I also was curious on buying We Used to Live Here. For debut novel, we also have The Ministry of Time, or We Used to Live Here. And then for young adult fiction, we have Heartstopper Volume 5. For nonfiction, we have I'm Sorry for My Loss. I just haven't unboxed it yet. And then I believe that's it. Okay, so let's start weeding out the ones that we are definitely not gonna read. Okay, so let's go through the biggest piles and dwindle it down. Okay, so starting with the Romantasy pile, because we have so many books. Let's start taking out the ones that we're definitely not doing these. Okay, so one is Gold. I would have to read 4 other books in order to get to this one, and that means 4 books plus this one in 3 weeks, plus all these other books. So definitely Gold is not gonna happen. When the Moon Hatched, I actually have a reading vlog planned for this in January after Onyx Storm comes out, because there's dragons and I'm gonna want to read books to cure my dragon hangover. So that's gonna probably be read in January. Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. This one, I think the next book is coming out next year, so I'm probably gonna save this for when the sequel comes out. And so now we are between a few. So we have A Dark and Drowning Tide, Phantasma, and Apprentice to the Villain. So these are the 3 that I have it boiled down to. I've been reading a lot of sapphic fantasy, romantasy, so The Dark and Drowning Tide would be really fun. But Phantasma was actually already on my November TBR, so I'm going to choose Phantasma. That being said, Assistant to the Villain is in my December TBR, so you are probably going to be seeing this in a reading vlog anyways. So there's that one. So for my Romantasy pick, I have Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. All right, so the next collection that I have is my fantasy collection. So this is my fantasy collection. So let's go ahead and dwindle this down. Number 1, we're getting rid of The Familiar by Leah Bardugo because I just don't have the greatest history and I don't feel like being disappointed. Next, I think I'm gonna get rid of The Night Ends with Fire just because I don't want to mess up this copy. So I'd literally have to probably buy a new one. So I'm gonna get rid of that one for now. This one is also a pretty cover. However, it's not as pretty as The Night Ends of Fire because The Night Ends of Fire, I believe, is a Fairy Loot exclusive. Yeah, so that one's like way more valued than this regular stenciled one. So I'm between Five Broken Blades and why do I keep saying Meg Schaffer? The Lost Story. I kind of want to read Five Broken Blades. It's a little bit thicker, but I've been reading a lot of like cozy fantasy, so this would be a nice little like switch up. Okay, so next is going to be the romance category. So we have these 3 books here. We have Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. We also have Leather and Lark that I haven't unboxed, but I would have to read Butcher and Blackbird. Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. And we have Bride by Allie Hazelwood. So right away, I'm going to put this one back just for the summer because I do here that you have to read the other ones, even though they're not connected, that it's good to read the other Abby Jimenez books before you get to this one. And plus, it's also called Just for the Summer, so that, to me, feels more like a summer read, you know what I mean? And to be honest, I kind of want to read this one. I've been having my eye on this one, so The Love of My Afterlife. Next, Heartstopper Volume 5 is automatically going on there. And then we have The Ministry of Time for sci-fi pick. We have Home is Where the Bodies Are for our thriller pick. Margot's Got Money Troubles for our fiction pick. And So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. So I am taking that out. And then I can also veto. So I'm going to veto Margot's Got Money Troubles because I'm just not in the mood for that. I'm also going to veto The Ministry of Time by Kayleigh Bradley. And then that leaves us with So Thirsty. In the horror genre, I actually read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I read 6 books in the horror genre. I'm so proud of myself. We officially have our TBR. So the 4 books that I will be reading for my Goodreads Choice Award TBR is Phantasma for the Romantasy pick, by Broken Blades for the romance pick, for the fantasy pick, Love of My Afterlife for my romance pick, and then we have Heartstopper Volume 5 for my young adult fiction pick. So here is the final TBR. If I can get to So Thirsty, I don't mind adding So Thirsty to my TBR. I'll keep So Thirsty on my TBR just in case. So we'll have this. This is our TBR right now. This is what it looks like. Are you happy? I'm happy. And then, as an added bonus, I do plan on reading Assistant to the Villain in December. So if I happen to, by some miracle, read this the beginning of December, I'll move on to this one as well. And then hopefully might get that done too. So ideally, this is what our TBR looks like for our Goodreads TBR. Okay? However, realistically, I know I'll get to these 4. Ideally, we're adding these 2. Okay? So just pretend it looks like this. Okay, here's our hopes and dreams, and here's our reality. All right? Our dreams are okay, so shoot for the moon. This is the moon. Even if you don't land, even if you don't make it, you'll land amongst the stars, and here are our stars. Okay? All right. Okay, so that's it, you guys. I know this was a super long video, but I had so much fun making it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to be notified when I post, and I will see you in the next video.